What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you some gameplay impressions of Cyberpunk 2077. So I want to mention I won't be talking any of the story up in this particular video. I just wanted to kind of share my thoughts with the gameplay as a whole, and I'm saving the story bits for my actual review when I actually get around to doing that part of it. First things first, I want to say that typically speaking, my viewers average around like 10% subscribers, 90% non-subscribed. With that in mind, I'm saying that typically what I'll do is, with reviews, 100% the game and then put out a review. Especially with games like this where they're so flooded with content, obviously. I find it the most unique perspective I can give is to 100% the game and then do a review after that. As I've 100%ed many games, my Steam profile is on my channel. You're more than welcome to go look. So let's jump right into it. What is going on with Cyberpunk? Now, I want to mention right off the bat, I have heard about all of the bugs on the PS4 and the Xbox One. Sounds like a nightmare. I'm so sorry if you're playing the game on that. Personally, I'm playing on PC with a 2080 Ti as well as a 9900K. The game runs pretty smooth for me. Bugs, I did run into one incredibly annoying one. Most of it's just been minor stuff, like little pathing glitches of like NPCs. Every once in a while, some of the power weapons, which are weapons that like you can charge up for an attack that will actually shoot through a wall, every once in a while, those will just like stop firing. Like you won't be able to charge them at all, which is a very strange one. That one's probably on the more annoying side, but the single worst bug I encountered is that sometimes when you're doing a quest, and it's, well, I call it quest because I play a lot of CRPGs, so excuse my vernacular. Sometimes with these main story missions, and I do say main story because it never seems to happen in the side missions, only the main story missions, where sometimes I'll do an objective and then like the quest doesn't seem to properly update that I did it. And this happened pretty early on when you go to see the Ripper doc that was in all of the marketing materials, which is one of the first missions in the game. I went to the Ripper doc, did that part of it, and then you're supposed to get up and go talk to another NPC just outside. The mission just like never updated, even though I did that part, except it kept saying, go talk to the Ripper doc. However, I was able to save the game and then just reload, and for whatever reason that fixed it. So I don't even know what that was about. Because this being a single player game right now, I have no idea how that didn't like break the save file basically. I was expecting to have to load an older save, but for some reason saving right where I was while that was happening and then loading it fixed it, which is just very weird. So for the most part, again, because we're ignoring the story, I'm going to talk about gameplay. So there's a lot of build diversity as far as the RPG elements goes. I was pleasantly surprised. Of course, it is based obviously off of the Cyberpunk tabletop role-playing game, which is itself a role-playing game. Tabletops have tons of diversity and stuff when it comes to like builds and things like that, and I'm glad to see they carried that over. I can definitely see what they're trying to do. And because of all of the shooting and stuff, I was worried that they were going to shortchange the builds, and I don't think they did. You can see where they're going with a lot of it. And while obviously I'm not that far into it yet, it looks promising. Roaming about the open world and doing the side missions, I have a couple things to note. One, the side missions are monotonous and very samey. So all of the side missions are basically go here, be contacted by a person who either wants you to kill someone or rescue someone. And while these people have names and stuff, the quest, like that's it. That's the whole thing. Like every single one of them is like that. It's go into this area, either kill everyone there, rescue this person, or kill a specific person. Sure, some of them have dialogue, but like 90% of the side quests, that's all it is. And it gets boring pretty quick as far as the actual narrative goes. There are a few side quests that are very memorable. Won't argue that with anyone. Some of them definitely stick out and are at least a slight variation of what you would typically be doing. But 90% of them are what I just mentioned, at least that I've encountered so far. And I've done tons of them. Now, the other side of that is that the city itself is a joy to explore. I can't argue that with anybody. The actual world building and the city itself feels alive. Things are happening around you dynamically, it would seem. And it's just incredible. The actual city is just really cool to go see. It's obviously dystopian. We should not be aspiring to what this city is, but it's a cool dystopia to go look at. especially because it so closely mirrors our own society in a lot of ways. And I think that's part of what drives the interest for me, is like, we're just to the left of what this is, and it's a dystopia. It's a nightmare, really. But it's really cool. The actual standout thing that I wasn't expecting to run into that I thought was really cool are the cyber psychos. So if you're unaware, in Cyberpunk, sometimes when people get augmented up and stuff, it causes what they call cyber psychosis, where because of all the adverse effects of all the cyberware people are putting on their bodies and things, in some cases like almost completely replacing their body, some people just go absolutely insane and just go on murdering sprees. And they call them cyber psychos. These guys function as like mini bosses throughout the game world that you can find. A quest tells me to track down 17 of them, so I don't know if that's how many there are or if that's just like an arbitrary number. But every once in a while you'll be going to a side quest location and it's like, cyber psycho, deal with this situation. And it's just really cool. So these fights are intense. Most of them have like a unique power or ability that they'll come at you with that most enemies you fight just don't have, and they're just really cool encounters. And then, just to shake it up, one time they actually threw me for a loop. One of the more memorable side quests, because to Project Red's credit, the side quests that are memorable are really good. It's just that most of them suck. So this one, I get sent to this apartment building. They're like, hey, a shipment of meds got stolen. We traced it to here, go figure it out. Now, typically speaking, the way this works is you walk into an area, there's enemies around, you sneak by them, you can kill a few of them, sneak around them entirely, do the objective, and get out. I go into this abandoned apartment complex, and there is nobody. It is a ghost town. So I'm sneaking through. I come to a door where there's obviously going to be a moment, as you open it, something's going to happen. If you've played video games enough, you kind of see this coming. And then, of course, I open the door, that happens, guy's got a shotgun on your face. He's like, you do anything, I'll move. And it turns out he's a cyber psycho, but like right before he goes cyber psycho. And he's planning on using these meds because what they're supposed to do is help with the cyber psychosis before it actually happens, but they don't work, according to this guy. And he's basically planning a murder over this because what's happening is that a lot of these military arms of Night City will go out, do their tour of duty or whatever, and then return. And the government isn't taking care of these people at all, which seems to be a running theme you'll find throughout the game. But you can have this conversation with him where you can try to talk him down from this, and you can explain that if you murder this politician that you want to murder, everyone's just going to be like, you're a cyber psycho, and you're just going to be playing right into their hands. Don't do this. And then he says that he wants to be alone. And, you go to walk away from him after he hands you the shipment of meds so you don't have to kill him and you can complete the story. And then he goes and sits down in a chair, and then I walk away, and the dude shoots himself. And I was like, what? Really well done side quest, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Everything with the cyber psychos is just impeccable, honestly. Really good storytelling. And really good boss fights. And I'd say probably the last thing I want to mention really for this video is simply that the gunplay, like every RPG shooter, isn't great. It's serviceable, it's cool, but I don't know, there's just something about using a sniper rifle to shoot someone and them being too high of a level to be killed by it. It ruins the immersion, and I realize because it's an RPG, what are you going to do about that, And it's hardly a problem unique to Cyberpunk here, but I don't know, it just bothers me. I don't like the feel of that personally. For some reason, Fallout 4, which is years old now, to me feels better than what this game has done. And that's saying something because at least Fallout 4 is kind of an RPG shooter in a lot of ways, but I don't know, I just don't see how Cyberpunk feels worse than that game did. As much as I hate to make comparisons between video games when I do these, I feel it needs to be said that for whatever reason, the gunplay from Fallout 4 feels better than this does, at least to me personally. Maybe I'm not far enough in using the better weapons towards the end of the game. Maybe it gets different. I don't know. But right now, is pretty much how I feel about that. So right now, with about a total of 10 hours in, and just to wrap up this video, if I were to recommend this to somebody, basically what I'd say is that if you like sci-fi and RPGs in general, then it's probably worth your time. But if you're not really wild about that stuff, I would honestly wait a month or two until these bugs get sorted out, because honestly, you'd probably just have a better time, especially if you're playing on an older console where the game just seems to be almost broken. But seeing as I know for a fact they released a hotfix today, I'm thinking hopefully they'll have this stuff optimized and ironed out pretty quickly. So honestly, I'd maybe give it a month, like maybe hold off until Christmas or something and then kind of see where it's at before I jumped in personally, just based off what I've played. Which, given that this is the most anticipated title of probably, the last several years, isn't a great thing to say. But beyond that, so far, so good, you know what I mean? Thank you guys so much for watching. I certainly hope you enjoyed it. Kind of gave you some information if you haven't bought the game yet or played it yet. But either way, thank you again. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing day.